Y'all, stop whatever you're doing because the sports world just got turned upside down. And no, this ain't your typical locker room drama. In a shocking turn of events that has fans screaming, headlines blazing, and timelines exploding, Wayne Gretzky, yes, the great one, is going viral for what he just said about Caitlin Clark. And trust us, it's not what anyone expected. At first, it sounded like a sweet tribute, a legendary icon acknowledging a rising star. But when the full clip dropped, unfiltered, unedited, and brutally honest, just hit the floor, Gretzky didn't just comment on Caitlin's skills. He dropped a truth bomb that rattled the entire sports community. And the internet, it's on fire. Fans are divided, players are responding, and Caitlin herself is rumored to be furious behind the scenes. This isn't just a hot take, this is a scandal brewing beneath the surface for weeks, maybe months. Sources say tensions had been rising between the old guard and the new generation. But no one expected Canada's golden boy to be the one to say what others were too afraid to utter. What did he say exactly? Why is Caitlin allegedly threatening to respond publicly? And why are insiders whispering about a major ESPN fallout, a potential sponsorship clash, and even private conversations being leaked from the locker room? It's the kind of drama you'd expect from a Netflix docuseries, not the prim and proper world of professional sports. But here we are, and nothing will ever be the same after this. So buckle up, because in the next few minutes, we're diving into the full, scandalous saga of how Wayne Gretzky's off-the-cuff moment has triggered a full-blown sports culture war, with Caitlin Clark at the center of it all. And trust us, you are not ready for the twist that's coming next. It all began with what seemed like a harmless segment on a Canadian sports talk show, Legends of the Game, a panel-style special celebrating athletes who've redefined their respective sports. Sitting front and center was Wayne Gretzky, cool as ever, flashing his signature grin, fielding softball questions about his legendary NHL career. But what happened next? It changed the entire tone and sparked a firestorm that no one, not even the great one himself, could have seen coming. It started with a question from the host, Wayne, is there anyone in today's sports landscape, any young athlete, who reminds you of yourself back in the day? Someone rewriting the rules, breaking records, becoming the face of a generation. The cameras zoomed in. Wayne leaned back, took a breath, and smiled thoughtfully. For a split second, it seemed like he might say something routine, something safe. But instead, he said, honestly, not really. I see a lot of talent, but not a lot of greatness. People mistake hype for history. Caitlin Clark's good, but let's not crown her yet. Silence. The studio froze. The host gave a nervous chuckle, trying to move on. But Gretzky wasn't finished. She's got skills, sure. But when I broke records, it wasn't about media clicks or TikTok views. It was about grit, longevity, discipline. These kids today, they get a few hot games, and suddenly people start using words like GOAT. I don't buy into the hype machine. And someone's gotta say it, boom, that was the moment. The temperature dropped and the internet caught fire. The clip was posted within minutes, and it took less than 2 hours for hashtag Gretzky vs Clark to trend across both the US and Canada. Fans on both sides of the border were absolutely divided. Some hailed Wayne for telling it like it is, while others lit him up for what they saw as a blatant diss against the rising face of women's basketball. But the story didn't stop there, oh no. This was just the first domino, because not even 24 hours later, a response came, and it came with more bite than anyone expected. Caitlin Clark was doing a routine press conference following a dominant performance in a WNBA game. When asked about the comments, she kept it classy at first. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, she said with a tight smile. I've got nothing but respect for Wayne's legacy. But then her tone shifted, her eyes narrowed. That being said, I didn't know greatness was limited to one gender or one era. If we're being honest, I've broken more viewership records in 1 year than most athletes in a lifetime. If that's not greatness, then maybe we need to redefine the word. Mic drop. The room buzzed. Reporters exchanged looks. The moment hit Twitter like a tsunami. Supporters hailed her as fearless, a woman standing tall in the face of outdated gatekeeping, but the backlash was instant too. Sports purists, many of them longtime Gretzky fans, called her arrogant, disrespectful, even ungrateful for the platform trailblazers like Wayne helped build. The sports world wasn't just split, it was fractured, and then came the flood of opinions. Everyone had something to say. LeBron James tweeted, "Respect to Caitlyn. Real recognizes real." Serena Williams posted a cryptic story that simply read, "They hate to see you shine unless it fits their narrative." NHL legend Mark Messier backed his former teammate. Wayne wasn't wrong. The game's changed, but standards shouldn't. Meanwhile, Megan Rapinoe came to Caitlyn's defense with a fiery post. "It's always the women who have to humble themselves while carrying the sport on their backs." Funny how that works. The drama reached a fever pitch when a behind-the-scenes source from the original talk show leaked unedited audio of Gretzky's full comments. And let's just say the viral clip was tame compared to what was cut out. In the longer version, Wayne allegedly said if Caitlin Clark played in the 80s, she wouldn't even make a practice squad. The game was tougher. Now it's all about optics and social media. You play well for 5 minutes and boom, endorsements, magazine covers. That's not how legends are made. The backlash hit harder this time. The optics were bad, really. Bad, especially for someone considered Canada's most revered sports figure. Canadian media tried to spin it. Gretzky's comments were taken out of context. One article claimed, "He meant no disrespect, just calling for a return to fundamentals, but the damage was done." Caitlyn's camp was reportedly blindsided. Sources close to her told reporters she was deeply hurt, blindsided by the tone, and reconsidering her appearances at upcoming events where Gretzky might be present. Rumors even spread that her team had demanded she be removed from a joint ESPN special that was supposed to feature both athletes in a Generations of Greatness interview. ESPN quietly pulled the plug on the segment, citing scheduling conflicts, but everyone knew the truth. Things got even messier when Caitlyn's father, normally quiet and reserved, entered the fray. He posted on Facebook, "Funny how some legends forget what it was like to be doubted. My daughter's not just great, she's historic." And no outdated opinion can dim that light. Now, it wasn't just a debate, it was personal. Even more fuel was added to the fire when video surfaced of Gretzky at a charity gala later that week. A young reporter, maybe 21, nervously approached him and asked, "Would you be open to speaking with Caitlin Clark directly?" Wayne smiled and said, "If she wants to learn about greatness, my door's always open." The crowd chuckled, but the clip went viral. Fans said it was condescending, disrespectful, dismissive. Others praised him for standing his ground. But behind the scenes, the tension was boiling. According to sources close to both camps, there were serious discussions about a sit-down between Gretzky and Clark, moderated, carefully edited, and framed as a constructive conversation. But insiders say Caitlyn wasn't interested in salvaging optics. She reportedly told her inner circle, "This isn't a PR issue. It's a respect issue, and I won't be the one fixing it." And just when you thought things couldn't escalate any further, someone leaked the group chat. Screenshots surfaced from what appeared to be a private sports celeb group message where former and current athletes from different leagues chimed in on the controversy. One message, reportedly from an unnamed former NHL player, read, "She should be thanking him, not challenging him." Wayne paved the way for all athletes to thrive in this media circus. Another shot back, nah. She's the one making history right now. Gretzky's comments reek of insecurity. The public saw it, the media pounced, and now. The drama had completely escaped the realm of a simple comment. It was a full-on generational clash, tradition versus transformation, icons versus upstarts, respect versus relevance, and it was only going to get uglier. Because deep inside ESPN's headquarters, a producer had just greenlit a special two-part docuseries to explore the fallout, tentatively titled Legacy Under Fire: The Gretzky-Clark Divide and Trust Us. What came next would shake both hockey and basketball to their very core. The announcement of the ESPN docuseries Legacy Under Fire: The Gretzky-Clark Divide triggered a tidal wave across sports media. Within hours, teasers were being posted online, dramatic narration, shadowy silhouettes of Gretzky and Clark, and thunderous music behind bold taglines like, "To Legends." One conflict, the fallout begins. It was clear this wasn't going to be some polished fluff piece. This was war, and the ESPN was cashing in on the chaos. And while the public was already in a frenzy, the real tension wasn't just between Gretzky and Clark anymore. It was spilling into locker rooms, boardrooms, and even homes. Several former players began issuing statements. Some urged calm and unity, others fanned the flames. Shaquille O'Neal posted on his Instagram story, "Can't believe the great one just became the salty one. SMH." Meanwhile, Charles Barkley doubled down on TNT, saying, "Caitlin Clark is the real deal." Wayne better recognize that the game has changed, and that's a good thing. The next day, Canadian former NBA star Steve Nash chimed in subtly, tweeting, "It's okay to pass the torch without burning the future." And then, the Gretzky camp pushed back. His longtime manager, Ron MacLean, released a carefully worded statement. Wayne's comments were not meant to diminish Caitlin's accomplishments, but to raise a broader conversation about how we define greatness in today's sports culture. But it was too late. The narrative had run away like a runaway train, and no PR cleanup was going to catch it. Behind closed doors, the situation grew darker. Sources close to Wayne's family began leaking that he was deeply upset by the public's reaction and felt betrayed by fellow athletes jumping on the bandwagon against him. Apparently, he believed the backlash was fueled by a growing cultural bias, that men of a certain era were being discarded by a media hungry for new icons. He wasn't just hurt, he was angry. At the same time, Caitlin Clark was dealing with her own emotional roller coaster. Friends described her as visibly stressed, exhausted from the scrutiny, and frustrated that her accomplishments were being reduced to a media firestorm. In private, she was torn. One source said she wants to clap back harder, but people are urging her to stay above it. Her agents are divided. Some want her to lean in, others say just wait it out. But Caitlin, she doesn't want to wait. She wants justice. Then came the breaking point. A viral video leaked from what appeared to be an off-the-record ESPN panel rehearsal. In it, a high-level producer was caught saying, honestly, Gretzky's comment was gold. He handed us a storyline. Who cares if it's messy? Messy sells. The clip was barely a minute long, but it ignited a fresh inferno. Fans accused ESPN of exploiting the conflict. Others demanded accountability. Hashtags like #RespectCaitlin and #ShameOnESPN dominated the trending lists. But that wasn't even the wildest twist. 2 days later, during a live podcast hosted by a popular female sports influencer, a bombshell email was read on air. Allegedly from a former Gretzky associate, the message claimed that Wayne had once tried to secure an ambassadorship role for his daughter, a position that Caitlin Clark eventually got. The source claimed Gretzky was bitter about it and that his comments were rooted not in opinion, but in jealousy. He saw Caitlin as the new face, and it rubbed him the wrong way, the email read. He couldn't stand the idea that someone outside of hockey, and especially a woman, was becoming the face of North American sports. The accusations were explosive. Gretzky's team denied them immediately, calling it a complete fabrication. But the timing couldn't have been worse. People were already suspicious. Now they were enraged. Caitlyn posted one word on Twitter. Wow, that tweet alone got 3.4 million likes. Meanwhile, women across sports came together in a show of solidarity. WNBA stars like Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart publicly supported Caitlyn, while Billie Jean King tweeted, "Greatness is not defined by gatekeepers, it's defined by courage, innovation, and the ability to inspire." But the Gretzky loyalists, they weren't going down without a fight. Hockey fans flooded forums and comment sections, defending their hero. Some posted compilations of Gretzky's records with captions like, "Put some respect on his name." Others accused Clark of playing the victim card, claiming she was blowing a simple opinion out of proportion. A few even called for her to apologize for being disrespectful to a legend. Then, in a twist worthy of a sports drama thriller, a leaked phone call surfaced. The call, allegedly between Gretzky and a close confidant, was raw and emotional. Though unconfirmed, the voice clearly sounded like Wayne's. "I never meant to start a fire," he said. "But I won't apologize for having standards. She's good, but she's not ready to be called a legend. Not yet. And the fact that people are coming at me like I committed a crime? I've given my life to this sport. I'm not going to let some basketball phenom erase that." The leak only made things worse. It humanized him to some, but enraged others even more. Now, it wasn't just about Caitlyn's talent, it was about her right to belong. The docuseries trailer dropped later that night. It opened with the infamous "not really" quote, spliced between montages of both Caitlin Clark's rise and Gretzky's prime. It ended on a split screen, Wayne's expression hard, Caitlyn's face defiant, and the tagline, "Greatness isn't given, it's challenged." The world braced for impact. But what came next? No one could have predicted it, because Caitlyn Clark, the so-called victim of this media circus, decided she was done. Playing defense, she sat down for an exclusive one-on-one interview with Oprah Winfrey. The announcement of the Oprah interview sent shockwaves through every media outlet. It was being described as historic, game-changing, and even a cultural moment for women in sports. Caitlyn Clark had chosen her battleground, and it wasn't any ESPN roundtable or a Twitter thread. It was the couch where Meghan Markle had dropped bombshells, where Beyoncé had opened up about pain, and where legends were made or broken. And now Caitlyn was about to speak her truth to the world. Promos began running 3 days ahead of the air date. Dramatic piano music played under slow-motion footage of Caitlyn walking through an empty basketball arena, lacing up her sneakers. Oprah's voiceover intoned, "She's been called the future of sports." But behind the records, behind the tears, lies the storm that changed everything. This Sunday, 1 hour, no filter, when the interview finally aired, over 18 million viewers tuned in live. Caitlyn sat poised, dressed in a simple black suit. Her eyes were calm, but steely. Oprah, in her classic soothing tone, asked the question everyone was waiting for. Let's start with the obvious. How did you feel when you first heard Wayne Gretzky's comments? There was a pause. Caitlyn looked down for a moment, then met Oprah's gaze. Disappointed, she said, "It wasn't just what he said, it was the way he said it. Like I hadn't earned my place. Like my accomplishments didn't matter because they weren't happening in his era, in his sport, or with his definition of greatness." That hurt. Oprah nodded slowly. "Did you feel it was personal?" Another pause. "I don't know. Maybe not at first. But when I saw the full clip, the parts they didn't air, it started to feel less like commentary and more like dismissal. And I don't think it's just about me. I think it's about a culture that still can't believe a young woman can dominate headlines the way I have without being labeled overhyped." The audience watching at home collectively gasped when Oprah leaned in and asked, "Do you think Wayne Gretzky is jealous of you?" Caitlyn didn't flinch. "I think he's uncomfortable. I think he's struggling with the fact that greatness is evolving, and it doesn't look the way it used to." That's not an attack. That's a reality. Within seconds, hashtag Oprah Clark trended on every platform. The interview had gone from candid to seismic, and she wasn't done. Oprah brought up the leaked group chat, the supposed ambassadorship Gretzky had allegedly lobbied for, and the ESPN fallout. Caitlyn responded with grace but firmness. "I never asked to be compared to him. I never claimed to replace him, but I will never apologize for being excellent. For being seen, for being celebrated, if that threatens someone's legacy. That's on them." Boom. The room was silent. But the next moment was the twist no one saw coming. Oprah gently reached for a folder and said, "Before we sat down, Wayne sent this to us. A personal letter. He wanted you to read it on air." The camera zoomed in as Caitlyn hesitated. She unfolded the letter, folded the letter, scanned it quickly, and then read aloud. "Caitlyn, we come from different times, different sports, and maybe different philosophies. But I never intended to hurt or diminish you. My words were clumsy, and I see now that they carried more. Wait, then I realized, if I've made your journey harder, I apologize. But I hope you'll understand that greatness always sparks conversation, because it challenges what we thought we knew. Keep going." Wayne. Caitlyn's hands trembled just slightly as she folded the letter. Oprah asked, "Would you meet with him?" Caitlyn stared into the camera. "If it's a real conversation. Not a PR stunt, then yes, I'll meet him. But I won't shrink to make him comfortable." That sentence alone became an instant feminist rallying cry. The interview ended, but the tremors didn't. SportsCenter ran extended coverage for 72 hours straight. Commentators who had once taken Gretzky's side suddenly shifted. "She's right," one said. "We've been judging her by rules we created for men in a sport we barely covered until she made it unignorable." Meanwhile, Gretzky was reportedly watching the interview live with his family in Toronto. Sources close to him said he sat in silence the entire time, then stood up and whispered, "She's a lot stronger than I thought." But while the Oprah interview had swayed public opinion, behind the scenes, the situation had reached a new, chaotic peak. The producers of the ESPN docuseries, already finished with Part 1, were suddenly in crisis. Part 2, originally designed to focus on Wayne's legacy and Caitlyn's brash entry into the spotlight, no longer fit the narrative. Public perception had shifted so sharply that they had to scrap entire segments. And that's when an anonymous crew member leaked internal footage that was never meant to see the light of day. It was a pre-interview with Gretzky, unpolished and raw. In the clip, he says, "They want me to go easy on her, to play nice. But I'm not going to fake it for a feel-good ending. If that costs me, so be it." Fans interpreted it as arrogance, defiance, even bitterness. Others, especially hardcore hockey fans, saw it as bravery. He's standing by his truth. They said, "He's not bending to the cancel mob." The internet once again split down the middle. It was no longer just about Caitlyn or Wayne. It was about culture, gender, fame, and the definition of legacy in an evolving world. The conversation had taken on a life of its own, becoming a national, even global, discussion. Then, one final twist. Caitlyn announced that her team was planning to launch a foundation, one dedicated to leveling the playing field for young girls in sports. And the name, 40 to Forward, a nod to her jersey number, and a bold message that the future isn't behind us, but ahead. In a tweet, she wrote, "Let's move the conversation forward. For every girl who's been told she's too loud, too confident, too much, this is for you." Wayne Gretzky, ever the icon, responded with surprising grace. He tweeted, "40 to Forward is a powerful idea. I support any initiative that brings more passion to the game. We don't have to agree on everything to share respect." For the first time in weeks, the temperature cooled. The tension softened, the noise faded, just a little. But the scars of the conflict remained. Fans still argued, commentators still picked sides. And the world waited with bated breath for what might come next. because this wasn't the end. No, this was the setup for a showdown the world would never forget. The dust had barely begun to settle after the Oprah interview when ESPN stunned the world with an announcement no one saw coming. It wasn't just going to be a follow-up segment or a digital sit-down. No, this was something far bigger. They were planning a live, televised, and moderated conversation between Wayne Gretzky and Caitlin Clark. No edits, no commercial breaks. One stage, two microphones, two generations. And one very unsettled score. Titled Game of Greatness, Gretzky meets Clark. The event was being promoted as the most anticipated conversation in sports history. Advertisers scrambled for airtime. Commentators predicted everything from heartfelt reconciliation to public implosion. Sports fans braced for impact. Feminists and traditionalists drew their battle lines. And behind the scenes, it was a pressure cooker. Insiders reported that Gretzky was hesitant. He didn't want to be ambushed or made into a villain. He reportedly told the ESPN producers, "I'll go on, but I'm not going to sit there and get lectured." Meanwhile, Caitlin's team demanded fairness. She's not going on that stage to be disrespected. This isn't about ego, it's about equality. The night of the broadcast finally arrived. The arena was packed, not with fans, but with hand-selected attendees from across the sports world. Legends sat beside rising stars, reporters filled every aisle. Security was tight, the energy electric. The lights dimmed, a single spotlight appeared. Wayne Gretzky walked out in a crisp navy suit, every step deliberate. The applause was thunderous, but mixed with murmurs. Then, from the opposite entrance, Caitlin Clark emerged in a sleek white pantsuit, her expression unreadable, her stride unwavering. The crowd stood, cheered, whispered, held their collective breath. They sat across from each other onto leather chairs, no table, no barrier. The silence was deafening. Wayne spoke first. "I want to say, before we get into it, I respect what you've accomplished. Truly, my words came out wrong. I own that." Caitlin nodded but didn't smile. "Thank you. That's a start." The conversation that followed was nothing short of legendary, raw, honest, emotional. Wayne explained his mindset, that his comments weren't meant to diminish her but to question how fast the sports media machine declares someone legendary. "I didn't have social media," he said. "I had to prove myself over decades. When I see young stars, I worry they're being set up. That was my fear, not you." Caitlin's voice was calm but firm. But that's the thing. You can worry without discrediting. Your words carried weight. And when you said I wasn't great, people used that as permission to question everything I've done. That's not just critique, that's erasure. The room was still. Wayne's voice cracked slightly. "You're right. I forgot how powerful words can be, especially from someone like me. That's on me." The mood shifted, the tension loosened. But the wounds weren't fully healed. Caitlin continued, "This wasn't just about me. It's about how we treat women in sports. The second they shine, someone questions whether they deserve it. If we keep saying wait your turn, we're telling girls they'll never have a turn." The audience erupted in applause. Then came the emotional peak, a moment that would replay on highlight reels for years. Wayne turned toward her, eyes glassy. "You've taught me something," he said. "That greatness doesn't look like one thing. It's not just stats or rings. It's the ability to shift culture, and you're doing that." Whether I was ready to see it or not, Caitlin blinked rapidly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want your crown, just your respect." Wayne stood. So did Caitlin. He extended his hand. She took it. The room exploded. The live event ended not in confrontation, but in understanding. Not in division, but in evolution. But even as the applause echoed, the real conversation had only just begun. In the days following, analysts on every major network dissected the encounter. Some called it the most important sports moment of the decade. Others criticized it as carefully staged damage control, but most agreed something shifted that night. A joint press release announced that Gretzky and Clark would co-found a mentorship initiative for young athletes, one that prioritized both legacy and innovation. The name Legends Rising, the initiative aimed to pair iconic athletes with rising stars across all sports and genders, promoting open dialogue, cross-generational respect, and emotional intelligence in the face of media pressure. The first round of mentors included names like Serena Williams, Tom Brady, Sue Bird, and Derek Jeter. Caitlin and Wayne would headline the launch. But just when everyone thought the drama had turned to inspiration, the last twist dropped. A sports gossip blog known for breaking scandals released a recorded phone call between two ESPN executives allegedly discussing the live event weeks prior. In the recording, one voice says, "Let's be honest, the beef is gold. But if we can get them to shake hands, we win an Emmy." The backlash was swift. Critics accused ESPN of exploiting a real cultural divide for ratings. Fans felt manipulated. Gretzky and Clark were once again caught in the crossfire, this time not from each other, but from the very network that brought them together. Caitlin tweeted simply, "We showed up, they cashed out." Gretzky posted, "Let's focus on the legacy, not the lens." The backlash died quickly, replaced by hope. Because the truth was undeniable, the story had begun in conflict, but it ended in change, and change is always messy, always uncomfortable, but always worth it. Now, Caitlin Clark is more than a basketball phenomenon. She's a cultural lightning rod, a voice for a generation. And Wayne Gretzky? He remains a legend not just for his records, but for his willingness to evolve. As the world moves forward, one thing is certain. We witnessed a moment where past met future, and neither one blinked. And just like that, what began as a single comment spiraled into a culture-defining storm, one that brought old-school legends and new-age icons face-to-face under the world's brightest spotlight. From the first spark of Wayne Gretzky's "She's good but not great" remark to Caitlin Clark's poised but powerful responses, this was never just about sports. It was about respect, recognition, and the ever-changing definition of greatness in a world that's watching closer than ever before. We saw tempers flare, secrets leak, alliances form, and legacies questioned. We saw networks scramble, agents panic, and fans split right down the middle. And just when it seemed like things would explode beyond repair, the Giants chose conversation over conflict, and in doing so, shifted the entire narrative. But the questions still remain, was it all genuine, or was it just damage control? Dressed in authenticity, has Wayne truly embraced the rise of the next generation? Or was this his last stand to remain relevant? And Caitlin, is she now bulletproof? Or will the spotlight grow even hotter the higher she climbs? We want to hear from you. Do you think Gretzky was wrong, or was he simply misunderstood? Did Caitlin handle the fire with grace, or fight it back with equal force? And most importantly, does this moment mark a new era in sports, one where tradition and transformation can finally coexist? Sound off in the comments below. We're watching every reaction. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that notification bell so you never miss the next explosive twist in the world of sports, drama, and everything in between. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, the game is changing, and the legends, they're watching.